market in case you missed it out there. Is this the right time to buy? I have my Dr. Seuss quote on this one. It doesn't fit in with our theme, but sometimes the questions are complicated and the answers are simple. Because that's a loaded question. Is it a right time to buy? Everybody's situation is different. That's why you're here. Should you buy in this market? Should you continue renting? How do you finance? What's foreclosure? How do you determine the right price? Are prices still falling? How do you find a realtor? And should I use a home inspector? That's what we're going to cover. The first part to decide is why do you want to buy a home? It's your why that is going to be the biggest question of the day. You want to know where you want to live. That's probably one of the most important things because you can change a lot of things, but you can't change exactly where you're living. You can't change your neighbors. You can change your kitchen. You can change your bathroom. There's a lot of things you can change, but you can't change the location. So you have a lot of decisions to make, and you're here today to try to figure out what decisions you have to make. A lot of times people don't know where to start. So if you have, and again, how many people have sat in on the mortgage workshop? Sat in? So this is on, if you have stable income, a decent credit score, there's programs that go under 600. And if you have money saved, or if you qualify for one of the special grants, and there's plenty of them out there today, the answer is yes. Rent versus buy. Should you buy in this market? No matter what anybody tells you, the rates are still historically low. My first experience in 1989, at the age of 22, I bought my first house. I had perfect credit, although I had no idea what perfect credit meant. I didn't know. I was 22, and at the time, credit wasn't as important as it is today. I had my money saved, and my rate was 11%. So that was a really good rate. So when people want to whine over 4, it's very hard for me to feel bad. Questions to ask. There's a lot of questions to ask, but most of them you're asking yourself before you start the process. Where do you want to live? What type of house do you see yourself in? Why do you want to move? That's why you want to move is always the first step. You take advantage of your own tax advantage. You control your own monthly payment. How many renters do we have in the room? Also. So how often does your landlord want to raise your rent? Probably every year. So this, you're in a fixed monthly payment minus taxes. And again, I'm not speaking to taxes because that's a whole other subject. But you get to grow your own equity. Instead of paying somebody else's mortgage and letting them take the benefits of being a homeowner, you're paying their mortgage and they're gaining the equity. You can do that for yourself. You have less restrictions as opposed to renting. And if anybody is interested, I like to bring up, like if you want 7 dogs, you can have 7 dogs if you own your own house. But almost today, if you have 7 dogs and they're all therapy dogs, you can also have them, and Vandalin's presentation will address that. And the pride of home ownership. That would be like me trying to tell you what a banana tastes like. You have to taste that banana before you can know that feeling of what home ownership actually means. Buying or renting, paint the color that you want. Don't let your landlord tell you. And again, I'm just skipping down the rest because you already know the rest. Throw wild parties because it's your house. You can do whatever you want with your house. Risk versus reward. You'll definitely see an increase in your value over time. Years ago, back before the bubble burst, you were looking at 10% appreciation every year. And that's not standard. That's not part of the trend. That's where the market went crazy. So everybody thinks like, oh, if I buy a house, I'll never gain any equity in it now because the market crashed. 2 to 5% appreciation per year is where we're back to. Some spots are seeing almost double digits. It won't go back to that spot again if it does run. And you're signing up for the biggest purchase of your life. So you can't treat this as if you're going to buy a car. Like cars are big purchases too, but this is where you're gonna park your car. This is where you're gonna hang your hat. This is where you're gonna lay your head. So this is, and this is clearly the biggest investment that you're gonna make anywhere in your lifetime. So you wanna be informed of all your options and have a clear vision. And so I like our Wizard of Oz, my Glinda. Her neck is kind of a little broken out there at my table, but she's good. And you've always had the power. You just had to learn it for yourself. So that's why you're here today, so you've made the right decision. Sheriff sales. How many people are here to hear about sheriff sales? Oh, darn. All right, well, that's good. Every other year, we usually have the actual sheriff who does a workshop. Unfortunately, they weren't here to be with us this year, so I've taken their slides. I'll give you, you have a high risk. Sheriff sales are, even my savviest investors stay away from sheriff sales, and you'll see the reasons why. And I also have more information at the table if you're really interested in finding out more. The sheriff sales in Montgomery County take place on the last Wednesday of every month at the courthouse. How do you find out which properties are being sold? They have their website, montcopa.org/sheriff. Now you'll go on there and you'll see some of your neighbors' houses listed. You'll see family members' houses listed. The beginning of April, when I first pulled the next slide, it was 512 properties were listed. April 15th, we were down to 410, and right now there's 359. And out of that 359, typically you're going to see a lot more either get stayed or postponed for whatever reasons that may be. So the list that you look at one day doesn't mean that that property is going to be represented on that last Wednesday of the month. Couple points to make. You can't look at the property. You can't inspect the property. And unless you know somebody who owns a title company, you have no idea what's going to come back on that title. So you're going in blind. It's, you know, I like to call it the Helen Keller effect, no offense, but you're completely blind. And that would be like buying a car without taking it for a test drive or looking under the hood of the car. So this is a much bigger purchase than that. And then they talk about tax sales. Tax sales are slightly different. If you buy a house at a tax sale, technically the homeowner has 1 year to come and take that house back away from you. So I've heard of, it's not happened with me, people will buy a house at a tax sale, they'll go in, they'll start making repairs to it, and 10 months later, after all the repairs are made, that person actually still has rights to their house. So when tax sales sell good, and you see it on the website for like $14,000, you can have a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath colonial in a great school district. If it sounds too good, it is too good. So, and I'll click through the rest. How do you buy property at the sheriff's sale? You want to read the conditions of sale, which basically in a nutshell is what I've just explained. Research the properties you're interested in. Don't spend too much time just because of what I said. If it's on the list at the beginning of the month, very well may not be there by the end. And decide how much you're willing to spend or risk. The bidding, and again, another issue that people don't understand, if you buy a property at sheriff's sale, it's now called an upset sale. So your title is in an upset place. So you have to spend money with an attorney to clear your title in order to be able to do anything with that property. Even if there's no other liens against it, it's an upset. You have to quiet the title, so to speak. So there's a lot more to do than that. You have to have 10% to put down, non-refundable. You have to come up with the rest of the money, cash money, unless you have a fabulous mortgage person. And these properties are very hard to finance, so cash money. So if you've just hit the lottery, don't waste your time on sheriff sales because your money will be better spent elsewhere. And the terminology, if everybody's going to go home and check out the site, because it's pretty cool. You're going to go look for your neighbors and see what houses are like in distress, so to speak. So when you're looking, if you see stayed next to it, that means that the process is stopped. Either somebody came to terms with their mortgage or the property was sold prior to the foreclosure date. Postponed means that somebody sweet-talked somebody at the bank and they've postponed it for another month, maybe 60 days. Postponed by CO, that's a court order, and that could be many reasons. That could be a divorce. There's a lot of reasons why a court order would be in place. And then if somebody files bankruptcy in the middle of a foreclosure, that completely stops the foreclosure process until the bankruptcy is discharged. Sold for cost, there's no bidding. That's when typically, if you're ever interested, go to the courthouse. I think it's courtroom A, the last Wednesday at 1 o'clock, the third Wednesday, excuse me, at 1 o'clock. And You'll notice there's a row of lawyers that sit in the front row, and basically when a property is called, they raise their hand, they take it back. Now the bank has their shadow inventory ready to spill out to the public eventually. So you have a phone number, you have the website, and if you want further information on how to research them, I have that. This is what the site's going to look like, or should I say half the site, because I really am not a techno gadget, so that's what my slide looks like. So Wednesday, April 26th at 1 o'clock, courtroom A at the courthouse. Here's what your list looks like. It gives you the person's name, gives you the bank that is coming against them, tells you how much is owed on the property. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it's going to be sold for. And then you'll see postponed by CO, postponed. So there's a lot more that are still getting postponed. So right when I pulled this, I believe this was Thursday night, 379 properties, and that number is just going to drop. So what's the difference between a sheriff's sale and a foreclosed property? That is, a sheriff's sale is something that you definitely don't want to do. So just take that out of your brain, get rid of it. Foreclosed property is slightly different. That's after the lawyer in the front row has raised their hand and taken the property back. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and some bigger banks are actually going into the properties and bringing them up to speed. Fresh paint, fresh carpet, cleaning them up, cleaning out all the clothes that nobody wanted anymore. Sometimes we have leftover animals, kids every now and then. Not really, as a joke. I was just saying who's paying attention, because they're not allowed to leave their kids behind. If they could, they probably would. So now you have a property, and it's listed with a realtor, but it's a bank-owned property, or some of the other terminology is bank-owned, REO, foreclosure, that type of thing. Now, it's less risky, but there's still a risk. Should you look at them? Sure, because there are absolutely some really nice foreclosed properties, but pictures lie. You know, they say pictures don't lie. Pictures absolutely lie when you're looking at properties on a website, just so you know. It's less risky, but it's still risky. You're going to buy it as is. There is no repairs. You do have rights to inspections sometimes, so you'll know at least what you're buying, and hopefully your agent will keep a contingency in there for you to walk away should something be biggerly or more wrong with the house than met the eye. Normally, I put this, you sometimes pay both sides of the transfer tax, which is 1%. You normally pay that. And township requirements, you're responsible for that. The banks will not deal with the townships for plenty of good reasons, but they just don't. And financing on these homes can be tricky unless you're using a renovation loan. So if you haven't sat in the mortgage, you definitely want to sit in the expert panel at 2 o'clock, because they'll go over what that is. It's a great tool, even for properties that aren't owned by the bank. It's still, if you see the house of your dreams, but the kitchen stinks, there's ways to get around that. Knock that off the price of your house and add it back into the mortgage so you can get the kitchen that you want. So don't miss that. What is a short sale? Again, I'm going to start off by saying stay away, far, far away from short sales. 2009, 10, and 11, these were very doable properties. I believe, my theory is, and by all means, I'm not the expert, but the banks have the shadow inventory because they're not performing on the request for a short sale. So they have to, for the consumers and for the regulations and all the government things that are in place, they have to entertain a short sale, which basically means, it's a very confusing term, because short sale means that the bank's accepting shorter than what's owed on it. But it doesn't mean the process is short. The process is long. So unless you're living with a family member or renting on a month-to-month basis, you will not know your true settlement date until about 2 weeks before, when everything's been approved. And often, you know, if for any reason you hear differently, do not spend any money on inspections or appraisals until you have written approval from the bank that they are accepting your offer. I've seen too many people do this on my own listings. I've encouraged them not to spend any money, but they do anyway. So don't do that. If you should want to take that chance and do that. And then my favorite side, it's often a long and disappointing road, because you'll wait and to find out that you're not getting that house. The bank's going to take it back. How do you determine the right price? Again, how many people have been on a site checking out houses before you came here today? Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. Skip Zillow and Trulia because what they do, and I'll look right in the camera and say this to Mr. Zillow, they take old properties that were of great value, could be 10 years ago, could be 5 years ago, and they put them out there as if they're for sale. And what does that do? When you see a great house, you're going to click through. I want more information. I want to see it. Or you're going to call your realtor and be like, oh, how come you didn't send this to me? Well, it's really not on the market. It really hasn't been on the market for 8 years. But what they do is they generate leads for agents. So they sell us leads. They want us to pay them money to give you a free website to click through so they can sell us leads. These properties, all right, Zillow, 50% are not really true properties. They're either sold, they're not kept up to date with our system. If you really want to the minute, like literally to the minute, Realtor.com directs right with our system. So what I'm seeing, you'll see on Realtor.com. And if you find something on Zillow, go to Realtor.com. If it looks too good to be true there, I guarantee you won't find it on Realtor.com. So if you're going to do some internet searching, do that. Two benefits to Realtor.com too is that they do not sell your information. If anybody has clicked through, doesn't it seem like Big Brother has then told 50,000 people that you might be interested in buying a house? Now you're getting emails. I can help you with a mortgage. I can help you with inspections. Like they just know. If I order a pizza online, I get 10 different solicitations from pizza companies. So I don't know how that works. It's a great algorithm. I don't have it. So when you want to know the right price, you're not going to get it on the internet. You want somebody who's skilled, who can do true comps. And sometimes there's that house where there's no apples to apples. It's a house that is not like any other house. So that's when square footage, bedroom sizes, how much land does it have? There's a lot of things that go into determining the price of a house. Condition is absolutely one of them too. Guidance down the yellow brick road. I wanted yellow bricks to follow, but you know, I'll win that one day. It's a complex matter. Like the internet makes it seem like you find the house and it's all good. It's not. And you might be checking local pictures. Unless you're bored at Wawa and you grab one of their books, or the real estate book is really just truly online now, you're not really going to find what you're looking for. And again, I talk about properties are very unique. There's no two properties, even two identical models on the same street, are precisely exact. It just doesn't happen. Somebody's got a good kitchen, somebody's got a good bathroom, somebody has a roof that's leaking. There's a lot of factors that come into play. So when it comes time, I'll skip that. I have that in here. When it comes time to find a realtor. Are prices still falling? How many people believe that prices are still falling? No? How many people believe that prices are increasing? All right, slightly. There's some spots that we're never going to see an increase. We're going to just see affordable housing all day long. And then there are some spots where the appraisers are the ones that really blew the bubble up for us. Mortgage would say, okay, here's a loan. Appraiser would go out and say, oh, they want to pay $40,000 more than what it's worth. Okay, then I'll make that house $40,000 more than what it's truly worth. That's where people are underwater with their houses because an appraiser said, sure. So the prices did hit rock bottom 2008, 9, and going into 2010. We were on a slow recovery on this side of the country. The West Coast recovered much more quickly than we did. Florida is still struggling. The Northeast, we are in full recovery mode. So supply and demand come into play with that. No matter what site you went to, it is a seller's market. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy in the seller's market. That just means that prices are going to keep going up as the supply goes down, just like anything else in the world. You know, when they say it's going to snow and nobody has shovels, you're willing to pay $50 for that shovel so you can get your car out of the driveway. So it's the same thing with houses. People will pay more for what they can't have. It doesn't have to be scary. You get them moving on there. That took me like 4 hours, but they're moving. It doesn't need to be scary. How do you choose a realtor? Word of mouth And personal references are great. If somebody had a good experience with a realtor, they're going to share that with you, but not always. If they had a bad experience with a realtor, they're going to share that with you. Yelp, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So bad experiences are what you're going to hear, so you'll know who to stay away from, but you won't really know who will hold your hand through the process. You want to meet somebody. You don't want an email coming from Joe Schmo because you clicked on their Zillow listing and have them send you an automated format of why they're the best realtor. You want face-to-face. You want to feel comfortable. And full-time. If an agent is not full-time and this is what they do as a hobby, they are not up to the latest and greatest changes in the industry. And I say this because I see a lot of people get their license and they say, I'm going to sell a couple houses a year. They don't know how to write a contract. Unless you're writing contracts every day, addendums, inspection reports, they have no clue what they're doing. So if your cousin just got licensed in real estate and they don't have a mentor that's going to work with them, I'm not throwing all new agents under the bus, because there's a lot of hungry new agents out there that are going to learn this business quicker than some others. But make sure that they have a backup to know what contract they're getting you to sign and how the process moves forward. It's very important. Questions to ask. Experience. How long has somebody been in the business? How responsive are they? Is this their full-time job? How many hours a week do they work in the business? And do you need to sign a contract? That's an important question, and I'm just going to give you a very short public service announcement. We wake up unemployed every day. There is no paycheck. Nobody hands me $1,000 at the end of the week to suit up and to come talk to people or to go show houses. We have to get you to the table in the most comfortable way that we can. So when they ask you to sign a buyer's agency contract, they're not doing that. Well, some will be doing that to hold you in. And then maybe they'll show you a house, maybe they won't. But either way, if you buy a house, you owe them a commission. So the question to ask, I like to get my agency contract signed, but I also put a guarantee right behind it. If I'm not doing my job, we can cancel this contract. But I want some commitment, because I'm going to use my time, energy, effort. I'm going to put gas in my car. I'm going to research. I'm going to make phone calls to other agents of the houses that are listed that you might want to see to find out all that I can. So it's their protection level, just so you understand. Costs you nothing to be represented as a buyer. That's important for you to know. Nothing. So except short sales, you got to pay $3,000 for a negotiator to come in the middle. Forgot to mention that. But we're not going to do them anyway, right? Right? All right. And so what's the difference between an agent and a realtor? Does anybody think there is even a difference between the two? Real estate agent, that means that they passed their test and they have a license. And a realtor is someone who pays, and again, National Association of Realtors, we pay extra money to be part of an organization, an association, which we are held to a higher standard. So if we screw up, we could lose our license. If we're unethical or our integrity is not shining through and we're not doing the best for you, literally, if your interest doesn't come before anybody else's, including your agents, then you're not working with the right agent. So I have a quick, we're on, right? So to describe the difference between a realtor and an agent, this is what the realtor life is all about.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a realtor. God said, I need somebody that will get up before dawn with the dedication of the sun, risk time, energy, and investment for no salary or guarantee, work long hours on the street, prepare and deliver presentations, serve and attend to others' emergencies, then stay out past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a realtor. God needed somebody mentally tough that could wake up unemployed every day, yet gentle enough to have compassion for others. Someone that can build a bridge between people and technology. Someone to arrive home nightly in the dark to accommodate others' time, tell them, thank you for the opportunity, and mean it. So God made a realtor. God said, I need somebody that can sell like Carnegie, make contacts and write contracts, handle objections and deal with rejections, and who can finish her 40-hour week by Wednesday noon, then weary from contingencies and people's eccentricities and volatilities, put in another 40 hours and sacrifice a weekend too. So God made a realtor. God needed somebody that does not measure their work in hours, but by the satisfaction of their clients, someone to handle emotions unemotionally, to meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same. God said, I need somebody strong enough to knock doors and be ignored, direct mail and email, run ads, deliver notepads, Yelp and blog and work like a dog, make calls and get up from falls, and who will stop her efforts when called upon to mend the broken spirit of a colleague or client. So God made a realtor. It had to be somebody who'd honor ethics and integrity and not cut corners, to keep their head when all about them are losing theirs, and trust themselves where others doubt. Someone that can hold on when there is nothing left inside except the will which says, hold on. Who'd laugh and then sigh and then respond with smiling eyes when her son says he wants to spend his life doing what Mom does. So God.
So the process of, so that's just a little take of, I like that. I'm a realtor. My kids are sick of that. The process of purchasing a home. You want an experienced professional to help guide you. And like I said, if your cousin just got licensed, great. Just make sure that they have somebody with a little experience behind them. Find a mortgage amount that keeps you comfortable with your monthly payment. Again, if you did not sit through the mortgage, you want to sit through the mortgage, start with what you're comfortable with, because a mortgage person will tell you that you probably can afford more than you can. And then you're going to say, well, that's the house that I really want to live in and I qualify for it. But if you can't eat or pay the electric bill, then stay comfort. That's a zone. Location, location, location. Submit, negotiate an offer to purchase, inspect the home, and possibly negotiate repairs. But normally you're going to spend about $500 to $700 on inspections. If you can't find something wrong with the house to at least get that money back, then you're really getting a great house. Often, everyone should be on the same page. There should be no enemies. Often, people think like we are against each other. If I'm working on, you found the house that you want, and we have a listing agent on the other side, their goal is to sell the house for their client. My goal is to get a great house for my client. It's the same goal. And too often, there's crazy agents out there that like to make it a battle, and it doesn't have to be. And if you see that starting to happen, stomp your feet, throw your hands in the air. It doesn't need to be like that, because that's going to put a bad taste in your mouth of the whole process. You absolutely want a home inspection. I don't care if you're an electrician, I don't care if you're a plumber, contractor. You're not going to see things because now you're attached to this house. So you want an outside agency to inspect the home for you. The general inspection is what we call the home inspection. Then you have your radon inspection. Radon is a colorless, odorless gas. If you smoke, that's going to kill you first, but if you don't, or you have kids that don't smoke yet, you definitely want a radon test. There's no rhyme or reason where it's found. Often in new construction, any new construction now has the remediation systems automatically put in it, because when you're churning ground, that's where the radon comes from. Termite, you want to make sure that the bugs are not eating the house that you're about to move into. Septic and well, tricky on your first house. Septic systems could cost you anywhere between $30,000 and $60,000. So that's a $700 test. Sure, you're not paying a sewer bill, but you can't, there are certain things you can't flush, you can't have a garbage disposal. I'm not a huge fan. Typically in this area, you don't find much, but if you start going down the 422 corridor, you're going to find more and more septic and well. Well is good. The water is delicious. And from time to time, you just want to have it tested to make sure that you're not drinking Flint, Michigan water. Homeowners insurance, important to understand. Timing couldn't have been better.
Who's that guy?
Who is that guy? That's my farmer's insurance guy over there. Basically, homeowners, and again, a lot of times agents will say like, yeah, get a policy, call whoever you have, blah, blah, blah. When it comes to your home, it's much more intricate than that. What do you want to protect? What are you going to have in your house? There's a lot of questions to ask, and there's a lot of different, a la carte to a homeowner's policy. And too often, we see it all the time, hey, it was the best rate. And then they have water damage or something else and they find it's not covered. It's like that really cute commercial that I couldn't find because I think it's copyrighted, where like, you know, the guy's like in the blow-up pool and he really thinks he's covered for his real pool. Cute commercials, but they really do hit the point because you want to, it's worth more than one call or somebody who's going to give you the time to explain how the policy works.
I'll just do 2 quick tips. This is not a 15 minutes to save like auto insurance. This is usually my stock speech. You need to be on the phone with an agent. You need to go through a description of your property with them, because the price that they quote you, all companies will send a third-party inspector out to check to make sure that they've got the house covered correctly for the right rebuilding cost. I've gotten clients because the original agent didn't take the right amount of time to calculate the right dwelling coverage, and then the inspector came and changed it, and now there's a bill on the back end because the agent didn't do the work. So you're the expert on your home. You know what's in it and what's not in it. So
And definitely have that conversation. And any of the tables out there today, the majority of them are part of our group. This is a year-round process for us. This isn't just like, oh, let's throw a fair together. This is our 20th anniversary. So the people that are involved, at the end of the day, it's in it for us other than making sure that everybody's educated. It's passion. So shop around, acquire homeowners insurance. Your agent will order and review the title on your property to be sure it's a clear title you have. Often, you know, title, obviously the title company is not going to let you settle on a property that has a huge red flag somewhere, but it's better to know that in the 6th hour as opposed to the 11th hour when you have your U-Haul truck all packed up and you get to the table and you find out the seller may not be able to clear something that was on their title, or that there's a deed restriction that was failed to be mentioned there, or an easement. You know, you might have a half an acre and it's not really just yours. You want to do a final walkthrough to be sure that all that was supposed to be left, typically it's a refrigerator, a washer, or dryer, you want to make sure that's there on the day of settlement. You want to make sure that no one else has moved in and started squatting in the property that you're about to go to settlement on. And you want to make sure that, this is a biggie, that everything that was supposed to be removed was removed. Well, there's funny stories, but I won't go into them. And then I call it celebration. Some people will call it settlement. Go to the settlement table. Make sure that if whoever is going to do your mortgage, if they're not willing to come sit at the table with you, you're using the wrong mortgage person, because that day is the most important day. And that is where nothing is final until all parties sign. So if you don't have your mortgage pro with you at the settlement table, you're kind of sitting there holding the bag all by yourself. So that's an important question to ask. And then they get their money, you get your keys, and welcome to home ownership. So, and as it goes, it's always best to start at the beginning, and you're here today. And I thank you once again for taking out time from your day. We all had better things to do. And all you have to do is follow the yellow brick road, and then you get to follow your own yellow brick road like a boss. And I forgot to wear my red glitter shoes. Denise is going to kill me.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.